The reason your life feels out of alignment and mundane is because you're not listening to your intuition. That small, quiet whisper that's telling you what you need to do, you're looking for evidence to validate it before you actually act on it. The funny thing about intuition is that it's strengthened through courage. When you get that initial nudge and you act on it, you begin to trust yourself more and begin to trust that voice more. That's when your life becomes magnetic and everything starts to unfold for you. So start following that feeling even when it doesn't make sense. Hey y'all, welcome to Spoken Like a True Goddess podcast, a space curated for goddesses worldwide where we embrace our true femininity, elevate our confidence, and walk into the beautiful and abundant lives we're destined for. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope that you all are feeling great and doing well. Today, we're going to talk about how to grow and trust our intuition, how to follow that initial nudge that you get so you can move through life with clarity and peace. So you can be decisive, make a decision, and know that it's leading you and guiding you exactly where you're supposed to be. Before we get into today's episode, if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. Also, put on the bell notification so you can be notified when we drop new episodes. One thing about me, I'm typically the type of person who answers that initial nudge. When I get that feeling, I act on it. But I remember at one season in my life, I felt so disconnected from myself, from my body. I was just in such a weird space that I was not listening to my intuition at all. It was almost like I was sabotaging or rebelling against myself. And I'll never forget, I had to learn the absolute hard way to never ignore my intuition again. Shoot, I'm still picking up the pieces from a bad decision I made 7 years ago. And I knew that was a bad decision. I knew it was a bad decision then, and I felt it initially, and I still act on it. And as I was acting on it, each decision I was making, something kept telling me, girl, nah, like just stop. No, 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 no. And I remember I was just like, well, no, I'm okay. I'll just have to deal with the consequence. Like, it's fine. It's fine. And I was not aware that the consequence would be that, but it was. And ever since that situation, I'm like, I'm never going to ignore that feeling again. So many of us second guess ourselves or don't trust ourselves, or even maybe in a position that I was, where it's like you're kind of sabotaging yourself. But one thing we can know for sure is that inner voice and that inner knowing is always working for us. It's always guiding us to exactly where we need to be. In the situation that I was in, it involved a boy. And I remember initially when I met him, I just felt eerie. Like, that's the best way to describe it. Like, it was just like and in any other situation, I would have just got on, but I didn't. And I learned the hard way that that's nothing you should ever ignore. Rather, you're not listening to your intuition because of fear, because you don't trust yourself, or just because you're in a rebellious era right now, you will still get the same end result. So, in this episode, I really want to dive into the importance of trusting your intuition and how you can grow it. So you could just make those decisions in your life and just live free and just know that every route and every turn you go is only leading you. I have had eras where I ignored my intuition or I was disconnected from my body, so I wasn't really in tune with it. But overall, in my life, I follow that and I trust that inner knowing. It's so funny because my life is so random. Like, it looks so random from the average person looking in. And it's to the point now where my friends, my family, they don't even question me or need to know why I'm doing something. Like, they just know, like, oh, okay, like, because it's like when I get that feeling, I'm going to act on it. I don't care if it don't make no sense. I don't care if I don't have any proof or anything to back it up. I'm going to act on it. If I get that hunch, I'm going to follow it. And I'm so grateful for the people in my life because they never judge me or they never make me feel like I have to explain why I'm doing something. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, she's just Shekinah, just being Shekinah. How I see intuition is that it's your internal GPS system. When you're going on a trip and you type in the address to where you're going and you press start, the GPS system is going to guide you to your destination. It's going to say, turn left here, go a mile, turn right there. And when you follow it and you listen to it, you get to your destination. But the other thing that I love about GPS system and correlated that to our intuition, even when we make a wrong turn or even when we make a mistake or miss our exit or whatever the case is, it reroutes us. So that's the same thing with our intuition. You don't want to get so caught up or so frozen that you can't make a decision because you don't want to be wrong. Because when you follow that nudge and you start and you take that first step and you go on that journey, you'll get to the destination. Even if you make 12 wrong turns, you'll get there. You'll get to the destination because your intuition will just keep guiding you and keep redirecting you until you get on track. Sometimes it could take you a scenic route, and maybe you're on that route, you'll see something that you never thought you would see. Sometimes it could redirect you and take you a shorter route. You don't know, but you have to start and you have to go on that journey to see. And that's why we never want to get paralyzed with fear when we're following our intuition or when we're going on that journey, because there's no right and wrong. There's no good and bad. It's just life. It's just what it is. Even if you make a wrong turn or you make a wrong decision or whichever the case is, you could still get to your destination. And sometimes when we get that nudge or we get that inner feeling or that inner knowing, it doesn't make any sense. We don't have any proof or any logic to why we should do this or why we should go there or go this route. We have no proof or knowledge, but you have to trust in yourself enough and trust in that voice that taking that initial step and going that way will lead you to where you're supposed to be. And a lot of us, everyday life, like we're getting up, we're doing the same thing. We're feeling out of alignment. We're feeling all of these things. And it's because we're simply not answering that call. We're simply not taking that step to truly live in our purpose, to truly listen to that voice, to see where it's supposed to take us. And that is such a tragedy to live your life like that every day because you're fearful or you're afraid of what people may say or how it may look or anything like that. If you have that inner, deeper knowing, just go. Like I was saying, my life is so random, but I live such a rich life. Like my life is so rich. I've met some of the most random people and have just gained so much from those interactions simply because I just go out and live my life. I'm always open to what life can offer me. I'm always open to something better and bigger. So when you navigate life like that, when you think of it, oh, it's a journey. Okay, I have this nudge. So something is pulling me there. Something is calling me there. So I'm going to go explore that and see what that is. That's where life gets really fun. That's where it gets more like a game and not so serious and uptight, but it's more like you're going into a world to like make these connections and connect these pieces and just to explore. And that's what life should really be about. Not just getting up, working, taking care of your kids, just this day to day. No, listen to that inner calling. Where is it pulling you? Where is it guiding you? And I will say, every single time I've answered that calling, I've acted on that initial nudge, something great and beautiful came from it. And we're so lucky as women because feminine energy and intuition just meshes so well together. And that's why we're seeing a lot of women are building massive amounts of wealth, building legacy and things of that nature. Because when we step into our true power and really listen to that intuition and act on it, we can navigate in areas that men just cannot. And I'm not saying that to bring a wedge between men and women, because I believe when you could get feminine energy and masculine energy, when you get that intuition and that logic and bring it together, there's nothing that you can't do. But what I am saying is that with feminine energy, when we tap into our intuition, we can move in ways and trust and get certain downloads that you cannot get with logic alone. Sometimes you could think yourself out of a situation. If you're looking for exact proof in black and white on how something's supposed to be done or how is that going to work out, you will not move at all. But that's the good thing about women. And that's why we're doing such a great job in these spaces, because we're able to feel our way through life. We don't need a lot of logical proof before we act. But at the same time, if we don't develop that intuition, and if we get our intuition confused with our emotions, that can be detrimental. And that's why I said, that's why I think that logic from the masculine comes in very well, is because sometimes when we're too out there and we're too filly and we're too in our emotions and we're moving too fast and things like that, we do need that logic to ground us a little bit. So when you can grow your intuition, when you could grow it to a healthy state and you could differentiate, hey, these are my emotions and this is my intuition, or this is my fear and this is my intuition. When you can balance that, you can get really far in life. And that's even better. If you can link up with masculine energy and you all can trust each other and he trusts your intuition and you trust his logic, that's a beautiful team. That's even better. But if you don't and you can develop your intuition to the point of, you know, that this is my emotions, this is my fear, and this is my inner guiding, you'll be golden. I was at this conference and the guy was like pitching us on something. And from what he was saying and his aura and the project and his background and his track record and things like that, you can tell that it was a very good opportunity. And the women in the room were like, oh, okay, you know, receptive and things like that. And the questions that women were asking was, yes, to gain clarity, but you could tell that they were trusting of it. Like, they weren't asking questions because they were mistrusting of the information. They were just asking questions for more of clarity. But the questions the men were asking were very logic based, like trying to see, how is this too good to be true? Or is this too good to be true? Or, oh, there has to be a catch. Or, and I remember at one point, one of the women was like, if you want to elevate, then you have to take chances. Like, you guys are asking questions like to debunk this versus asking for clarity, where it's like, you can obviously tell that this is something good to invest in. Like, you can obviously tell that. And it was like, yeah, it was obvious for the women that, okay, this is something good, because we can feel more of our way through things. But with men, I feel like sometimes they move a little slower and they need a lot more proof before they make that first move. But with women, when we develop our intuition, we can feel our way and we could take that first step without having black and white proof and logic. And it really is our superpower as women, because in this world, intuition is devalued. Like, people don't really value it. If you go to someone and they're looking for a reason and your reason is because I just know, or I just got that feeling, they're not going to take you serious. Not at all. So you have to be confident enough in yourself and in your gift that you can act on those things without making other people understand it, or without needing so much proof and logic to make that first step. Because intuition is essential if you want to live an aligned life. A lot of times when we get that initial nudge, it's not going to make sense. So that's why we don't want to stagnate ourselves by looking for proof and things to make it make sense. A lot of times when we get that nudge, it's a complete different path than what we're on. That's why we're looking for a logic, and that's why we're trying to make it make sense, because we're like, this doesn't even match what I'm doing right now. So that's why we're looking for that validation and things like that. But it's not always going to happen that way. So you have to just trust that, okay, this is my inner knowing. This is God telling me to go ahead, take that step, because it's something in that direction that you need. So with that being said, how do we trust and grow our intuition? Number one, you want to learn the difference between fear and intuition. Fear is just an emotion. That's it. It's just a feeling and it's just an emotion. Usually with fear, it's very loud, it's very anxious. It's a lot of questions of, well, what if this happens? Well, that doesn't make sense. Oh, you're going to look like this. Oh, well, if this goes wrong, then this isn't it. It's frantic, it's crazy, it's making you feel uneasy. Your intuition is very silent, it's very soft, it's just a deep knowing. I know with me, when I get that feeling and that initial nudge, or better yet, I have a more recent example. Not too long ago, God gave me an idea. Like I got that nudge. And when I got that nudge, something told me, you're going to have a lot of mixed feelings about this. But whatever it is, whatever you're feeling, no matter how real it feels, just do it. So, sure enough, as I'm getting closer to doing this and things like that, that fear, those doubts, those questions, they just get loud. But what I will say, when I'm done having that fit and freaking out and crashing out and asking myself all these questions and trying to make sense, like, oh my God, this is so stupid. Like, this makes no sense. Like, why are you doing this? And da da da. After that, it's still that deep knowing and that intuition that just whispering, be like, no, go, no, do it. So that's one way you can know the difference between your fear and your intuition. So they can happen at the same time. So while you know, like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this, or this is what I'm going to do, or like, okay, I got that feeling to do that, simultaneously your mind is going to be telling you, girl, that don't make no sense, that's so stupid, like why are you doing that, like, well, you could do this instead, this will be easier, this is going to tell you everything. But that intuition is going to be very silent, like you're going to feel it deep down here, like, nah, I still should do this, like it doesn't make any sense, but I know I'm supposed to do this. The first time it's not going to be easy. The second time is not going to be easy. But once you keep doing that, when you ignore the fear and the emotions that come with it, and you still act on that initial feeling no matter what, it gets easier. And meaning it gets easier because you trust yourself more. You know, okay, well, that was hard, or I felt that type of way, and I still did it, and nothing bad happened. The world didn't end, nothing terrible happened. So just remember, fear is frantic, but intuition is calm. The second way is to practice with small decisions. So intuition, it has to be practiced. That's the only way you're going to learn to trust it. So in your day-to-day with small tasks or small decisions, just go off of that initial feeling that you get. For example, if you're getting lunch, you don't have to go into the group chat and say, oh, hey, what should I have for lunch today? Just make a decision. The first thing that came to your mind, just do that. You know, so on those smaller day-to-day things, just make decisions. Start training yourself to not look for outside validation to validate that feeling that you have, or looking for proof. And another thing, stop using ChatGPT for advice. Like, I've been seeing that online, and I like ChatGPT, so I'm not saying like don't use ChatGPT, but you should not be talking to it as your friend. Pray instead, okay? Like, pray and listen to your inner voice, but you don't need a robot telling you what you should do in your real life. All right, use ChatGPT for uh as a search engine or something like that, but you do not need it as your best friend or to tell you what you should be doing in your real life, okay? The third way is to trust that first nudge. So, before the doubt kicks in, before the fear kicks in, what was your answer? Before you start overthinking it, how did you feel about it? Before you ask your friends about it, how did you initially feel? And just act on that. So, that first initial thing, that's usually your intuition. Before all the noise comes in, before all the opinions come in, what was that initial thought? Was it yes? Was it no? Was it not right now? Whatever that quick initial silent thought was, act on that. The fourth way is to reconnect with your body. Our body holds a lot of wisdom. And when we listen to our body, when we connect deep within ourselves, we'll be guided and things will get a lot more clear for us. Don't push past those feelings, those things that you feel in your body. And I know we live in a society where it's always productivity, productivity, productivity. But sometimes just take a moment, take a step back, touch grass, just take a step back and really reconnect with yourself. Because of how society is, we're always on the go. We're always ignoring our body and silencing our body and just on the go and just being productive and just doing what needs to be done and hustling and all this other stuff. A lot of people, to be able to be part of normal society, have to medicate themselves. So whether it's medication from a doctor, whether it's drug abuse or alcohol abuse or whatever the case is, we're medicating ourselves just to be able to survive in society. And I hold a very soft spot for that. And I'm truly saying this with compassion, because what options do we have? That's how we feel sometimes. Like, okay, if you're having a hard time focus, okay, I have something for that. If you're experiencing depression, okay, we have something for that. If you're having any issue which is not allowing you to produce at the rate that they want us to produce here, then they have this quick fix for it. So everyone's walking around like a zombie, disconnected from their bodies and ignoring what their body is telling them just so they could be productive. And that is extremely detrimental. And like I said, I want to tread lightly because I understand mental health. I understand drug abuse and alcohol abuse and addiction and things like that. So I'm not saying these things in an insensitive way, but what I am saying is that something has to change. Like, we have to go about this in a different way, because we shouldn't have to take medication to be able to go to work. We shouldn't be so stressed out from our job that as soon as we get home, we're drinking loads of alcohol just to decompress from the day or disconnect from the day. And alcohol is so tricky because it's so accessible and it's so casual, but alcohol does terrible things to our bodies. I work in healthcare and I work in cardiac, so I work with the heart. And the patients are getting younger and younger because people are abusing alcohol. And I had a patient and I was doing his echo and he was 45 maybe. And he's basically in heart failure simply because of alcohol abuse. And he didn't even know like that he was abusing alcohol or having an issue with alcohol until he had this medical emergency. Then he has to, now we're just trying to figure out like what's wrong with him and all this other stuff. And I asked him, I'm like, how much were you drinking a day? Because he stopped, thank God. But we know how like addiction goes. But anyways, he stopped, and he was like, he was having 9 shots every night. And he said he was just so stressed with his work and things like that. And that was how he was relaxing. So, we just do so much to disconnect from what our body's telling us. Maybe not everyone is built to work 40, 60 hours a week. Maybe you're supposed to be, on the beach surfing or something, or in a cave painting. I don't know, living in a treehouse. But because we just need to survive here and we've been trained to just work, 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 then this is the outcome of it. It's just people disconnected from their bodies, walking around like zombies, abusing drugs and alcohol, whether it's prescribed or not, just so we can be productive in society. Instead of taking a moment and listening to our bodies. Hey, I think that I should take the day off today. I think that I should go on a vacation, or whatever the case is, or I don't think that this is the career for me, or I don't think this is the path for me. When we could take a moment and actually do that, we'll see great change in our mental and our physical health. So, that was a bit of a tangent, but Learning to connect with your body and listen to what your body is telling and listening to the wisdom that's in your body is going to do great things for us. And lastly, ask and listen for divine guidance. Not Chat GPT, not the group chat, but take some time and really be vulnerable and ask, hey, God, I need some guidance. I need some clarity on this. I need some understanding about this. And when you do that, release it and just wait for an answer. God communicates with all of us differently. How he communicates with me may be different than how he communicates with you. Some people receive revelation through dreams. Some people, they just have a deep knowing. Some people can hear audibly from God. You just never know, right? So you have to do what works best for you. And by building your relationship, see how you all communicate. It's a very personal journey. You can get revelations through signs, through numbers, through synchronicities, through there's so many different ways. So when you make that request known, just be patient and humble enough to receive it. And like I said, it's that intuition. So sometimes it's not so loud. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense. But you have to know, like, okay, if I take this first step, then I'll get direction for the next step, you know? So just strengthen your spiritual connection and just take some risks because you can't make a wrong turn. Like, there's no right and wrong. And when you train yourself to stop thinking in degrees of right and wrong and black and white and good and bad, you'll live a lot more freer and you won't be so critical of yourself and your decisions because you'll know, like, I can't mess up. Like, I can't ruin this for me. I know that whatever plan there is for me, it's going to get done. So when you start to trust that and you start to believe in that, life just gets really sweet and it gets really fun. That's one thing. I've never logically thought my way through anything. And I like to consider myself an emotionally stable person for the most part. You know, I'm still a girl, but I know my sister was like, oh, yeah, like you're such a logical person. I'm like, I'm actually not. Like, I'm actually the furthest from logical. Like, anytime I try to think too much into something or get like the proof or the black and white before I do it, I end up not doing anything or I end up totally just playing myself. Like, I've never logically thought through one thing in my life. Like, I'll make a plan. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'll make a plan and things like that. But the details, I'm always moving on intuition. I'm always moving on what feels like the next step. And not feelings as in emotions, but like that deep nudge, like what's next. I have so many stories about me just taking that first step. And if I would logically think, I'm like, this isn't going to make sense. It's not going to work because of this, and this. But I have many stories of me taking that first step. And as I'm on that journey, things come to just make it work out. So we're so lucky to be women, like I said. So we should really dig into that intuition and just have faith to just always take that step and follow that initial nudge and just know that we're going to get met halfway. And I've been seeing like a lot of videos saying like, oh yeah, God's a girl's dad because, you know, they're giving all these like examples and scriptures of like how he's a girl's dad. And I really truly believe that like God really loves women and he really like listens to us and takes care of us. I remember one time I had went for like prayers from this like prophet or whichever, and she told me something that rings in my head a lot. And she's like, just relax, like surrender. God wants to take care of you. Just let him take care of you, you know? And that really helps me. I replay that all the time. Like, yeah, you know, like I'm his daughter. Like he wants to take care of me. So let me just surrender. Let me just do what I'm supposed to do so he can do that, you know? And even just like being a mom and things like that. Like when I tell you God is always coming through. Like sometimes I just sit back, I'm just like, I can't believe like the life that I live. Like we always have more than enough like great things always happen to us. Like, we live such a abundant and beautiful life. And I'm like, it's not supposed to be like this. Like, if you look at the actual facts and actually how I got into this situation or whatever the case is like, it's not supposed to be like this. But I'm blessed like abundantly. But I'm also very courageous. Like, whenever I get that nudge, I act on it. Like, even me being in Austin right now, like, this was the most random move. I always make random moves, but this was particularly random because I never thought to be in Austin. But it's like so many great things have been unfolding for me. It's like I've never been this focused in my life. And because I don't have many distractions, it's like I'm able to really live in my purpose, and I'm able to really take advantage of things that I wouldn't be able to if I had so many distractions. And it's like things are just like working out for me here. And it just amazed me. All right, y'all, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And just remember that you're more guided than you can even imagine. When you begin to trust that and follow that initial nudge and take that first step without having proof or evidence that it's the right thing to do, things are going to really start changing for you. You're not a victim. You're not a slave to your situation. If something isn't going right in your life, if you're feeling like you're not living in your purpose, you're not living to your full potential, make a change. Take a minute, ask for some guidance, and just act on that initial thing. I don't care what nobody has to say about it. I don't care if it makes you look stupid. I don't care if it doesn't make any sense, even if it doesn't make any sense to you. You don't have to prove to anyone else, first of all, but you should try to prove something to yourself that you could do something great while you're here on earth, that you don't have to be confined to how things are. You could step outside of the box. You could do something risky. You could have some fun in life. You know, you don't have to be so serious. You could live life on your terms. And I also encourage you all to read this book. This is called The Magic Path of Intuition. It's by Florence Scovel Shinn. Like, she's one of my favorite authors. Like, I have this book in my Amazon storefront along with like some of her other books. But I mean, she has such a beautiful mind, and I just love her work. And like, this even inspires me. Like, this was one of my inspirations also to start podcasting, and even I'm going to start like writing, you know, more too, because you never know like the seeds you could plant for someone. Like, I believe she was born in like the early 1900s, and like her work and her writings are still around, and they're inspiring me years later. I just agree with a lot of the things that she says in here. A lot of her teachings are my mindset. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, like and comment. And until next time, shine bright, be great. Bye.